Welcome back. As I've been praying for God's direction in these devotionals, I've sensed that He would have me spend a little time considering His interaction with the prophet Hosea. Today, we'll begin considering then these interactions with the most paramount of decisions, and that is our obedience to the word of Yahweh. I want to read 7 verses of Hosea chapter 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. When Yahweh began to speak by Hosea, Yahweh said to Hosea, Go, take yourself a wife of harlotry, and children of harlotry, for the land has committed great harlotry by departing from Yahweh. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then Yahweh said to him, Call his name Jezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bore a daughter. Then God said to him, Call her name Lu-Rohamah, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by Yahweh their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses or by horsemen. In this passage, there are two overlapping communications of God, which reveal the importance of our listening to and then heeding the word of Yahweh. First, there is the word to Hosea himself. Yahweh asked Hosea to do something that was not necessarily according to the law, something that would be, if you would, against his natural inclinations. He asked Hosea to go take for himself a wife of harlotry. Hosea, though, knew the voice of Yahweh. And knowing the voice of Yahweh, he obeyed. He married Gomer and had children by her. We will, Lord willing, talk about these children in tomorrow's devotional. But for today, what I'd like to highlight is Hosea's obedience to the word of Yahweh. Yahweh asked him to do something that was against his natural inclination, yet he chose to obey. And he did specifically what Yahweh asked him to do. Now, this is in juxtaposition to this first word of prophecy that Yahweh gives him regarding Jehu, in Jehu's taking into his own hands the fulfillment of what God had declared prophetically would occur. In 1 Kings 21, verse 20 to 24, we read of Yahweh's prophetic proclamation against King Ahab by the prophet Elijah, beginning of verse 20. So Ahab said to Elijah, Have you found me, O my enemy? And he, that is Elijah, answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do evil in the sight of Yahweh. Behold, I will bring calamity on you. I will take away your posterity, and will cut off from Ahab every male in Israel, both bond and free. I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, because of the provocation of which you have provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And concerning Jezebel, Yahweh also spoke, saying, The dog shall eat Jezebel by the walls of Jezreel. The dog shall eat whoever belongs to Ahab and dies in the city, and the birds of the air shall eat whoever dies in the field. Later, Yahweh would anoint Jehu to be the king. Then Jehu took the vengeance of Yahweh into his own hands. We read the culmination of that in 2 Kings chapter 10, beginning at verse 10. This is Jehu speaking to the people who were following Ahab. Know now that nothing shall fall to the earth of the word of Yahweh, which Yahweh spoke concerning the house of Ahab. For Yahweh has done what he spoke by his servant Elijah. So Jehu killed all those who remained of the house of Ahab in Jezreel, and all his great men, and his close acquaintances, and his priests, until he left him none remaining. And he arose and departed and went to Samaria. On the way at Beth-Eked of the shepherds, Jehu met the brothers of Ahaziah, king of Judah, and said, Who are you? So they answered, We are brothers of Ahaziah. We have come down to greet the sons of the king and the sons of the queen mother. And he said to them, Take them alive. So they took them alive and killed them at the well of Beth-Eked, 42 men, and he left none of them. Jehu had a zeal for Yahweh. He knew that Yahweh had anointed him to become king. He knew of the prophecy of Elijah regarding the house of Ahab. But instead of seeking Yahweh's face and only doing that which Yahweh had declared, he took the vengeance into his own hand, and he carried the judgment beyond what Yahweh had called for. Instead of performing the cleansing which he thought that he was doing, he actually added to the totality of the iniquity and sin of the land. The violence and sinfulness of the paganism of northern Israel had permeated even into those who had a zeal for Yahweh. But even when those who have a zeal for Yahweh act in the manner of the world, it's still not right. It's still not just. It's still not righteous according to the plans of God. Paul, in his letter to the believers of Rome, called for the believers of Rome to offer their bodies as living sacrifices, which was their reasonable act of worship. And in doing that, to not be conformed to the world, to not change themselves to look like, in their outward appearance, like the world, but rather to be transformed in the renewing of their mind, that they might be able to prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I must be listening to the voice of my God, to Yahweh, to follow him according to the mercies and judgments which he has decreed and desired for our land. It is God's desire for all men to be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth, to come to repentance. He doesn't delight in the death of the wicked. Rather, he would desire for them to come to know him. That must be my desire as well. As you pray today, take time to go before the Lord and asking God, are there ways of the world that have permeated you, that need to be cleansed, that need to be brought out as the dross and scooped and cleansed away, in order that we might be conformed greater and greater into the image of Christ, that we might be truly brilliant lights in the midst of this darkness, that others might come to know him, come to that point of repentance, and to give him the glory. Pray and have a blessed day.